All right, so let's get started. This is recycling in Haverford. So as as residents, we pay taxes and all of these services that our taxes provide. We want to let you know where your recycling is going, but not just your recycling, everything. We're going to touch upon a little bit more than just recycling in this workshop. So most importantly, the recycling is sent to Republic Recycling Material Recovery Facility, otherwise known as a MRF, and that's in King of Prussia. And this is the recycling company for Haverford. Other townships have different companies. So it's really important to know what your township accepts and doesn't accept. And that's not based on the environmental committee or the township's rules. This is based on the MRF's rules of what they take and what they have buyers for and where these things go. So you guys are going to learn everything tonight, and I wish this was required for the whole township because most people don't know, and it is very hard, and things change. Things are constantly changing with the industry. So with that, a little note with the recycling company, you might have seen there's a glass bin that's been in the township for almost a year now. So glass that is collected in your recycling can that you put curbside, it is collected, it is taken to the MRF, but because of excess glass and contamination, it's not recycled into new glass. It's actually just used for a landfill cover. So it's covering the landfill, the food, keep the smells out, keep the rodents out, things like that. And the reason why we have the bin is because a lot of people do want to recycle it. They want to make sure it's being reused and recycled into new glass. So the glass bin's provided by the Pennsylvania Resource Council. It started temporary and now it's continuing permanent. And so that is an option that you can do if you want to make sure that it's being recycled. So then our trash is collected by the county. The county takes care of the entire trash, and that's all taken to Covanta incinerator. So, incineration is burning your trash as opposed to a landfill. But then at the end of incineration, you're left with some very toxic ash that does need to be landfilled as well. And both incineration and landfill have negative side effects. There's the only positive thing is they're taking our trash, but there's a lot of bad environmental impacts to our air, our water, our land. There's nitrogen oxide, PFAs, lead, mercury, particulate matter, all of this stuff. Throughout the workshop, you'll see Jess and I talking a lot about how recycling isn't going to solve our problem, unfortunately. We make too much waste. We have too many people making too much waste. So it does need to go somewhere, but you want to keep that in mind because everybody makes choices on what you buy and what you have to dispose of at the end. So the next thing is the wastewater. Our water is treated in a treatment plant in Southwest Philadelphia. One thing to note about that is that the garbage disposal of food that goes down your drain, your garbage disposal is anaerobically digested, so that is not incinerated or landfilled. Leaves, it is a paid service that we pay as taxpayers, and the companies usually use it as compost. However, the brush and the Christmas trees are both a free service for our taxpayers, and that's because it's taken care of in-house with Public Works. They're both mulched, and then the brush, I'll talk about this next slide because after that big storm we had a month or so ago, a lot of people were really confused on why their brush wasn't being picked up, and there's a lot of reasons. Like we said, this is something we do in-house. We only take sticks or branches or things like that. We don't take leaves or grass or dirt or rocks, things like that. So it's really just big branches. But they are capped at 3 feet long, 1.5 inches wide, no more than 50 pounds. But the most important thing is that we don't take bags or bundles. It has to be loose in a can. We'll talk about that with recycling too. Just throw it in a can, mark it yard waste. Even if it's not marked, they'll probably pick it up anyway. They know what it is. But brush is not collected during Christmas tree pickup season. And with your leaves, yes, you can get them picked up, but another option is doing this yourself. You can mulch your leaves, chop up your sticks, and put it in your own house, your garden, your yard for free yourself. All right, so the next thing I have for you is a video on the MRF. So it's going to talk about what happens to your recycling once it leaves our trash trucks and goes to the recovery center, how they sort it that kind of stuff. So just give me 1 second. I got to share a different screen here with you. All right, can everybody see my screen? Yay.
Yep. Facilities, or MRFs, are where recyclables go after they leave the curbside bins. The MRF sorts, processes, and bales these recyclables to be shipped to manufacturers. First, all the materials are unloaded and placed onto a conveyor belt in preparation for sorting. They then fall onto an inclined screen.
Hey, Melissa, I don't know if it is for anybody else. I can hear it, but the
Paper
screen
products
isn't moving.
travel up the screen,
Sorry, the
while
what?
the paper products travel
Is
up.
that better?
You can't see the video.
Can't see it?
At least I can't.
It takes them to the next step in the sorting process.
It says it's
This
paused.
process isn't foolproof.
Fine.
Workers sort out trash and misdirected recyclables by hand. This lessens the amount of contamination in the final recycling load. The paper products are dropped into a holding container that waits at the end of the conveyor, then baled.
All right.
Plastic bags are the #1 problem at a MRF.
I thought we were in luck. We always have trouble with that video every time.
Every time.
All right, back to the PowerPoint it is. All right, so essentially what they were trying to say, magnets will take the metal out, air will blow the paper and the plastic, everything gets sorted through that, but there is also manual workers that will physically go in and pick out things. So when we get to the rules of the recycling, it shouldn't be bagged, it should be loose. So if they see a bag filled with recycling, they're gonna pull that out. They may open it up, but they may just throw it straight in the trash because it's not worth their time. So things really need to be recycled properly to make this easier. Right as I was cutting it off, the key thing with the MRF Center is how important plastic bags are. They jam up these machines and cause so many problems that they have to stop the machine, manually pull the plastic bags out of the gears. It's plastic bags. Yes, they have a recycling symbol, but they do not go in your can, and we'll talk about that. So what happens after it's all baled? They have a bale, like a whole ton of metal, they have a whole ton of plastic, and they have a whole ton of glass. They bale everything separately, so it does get sorted. And then that needs to be purchased by a company that wants that material. If somebody wants to make a recycled paper, they're going to buy the paper to be able to make it. If they want to make a item or a packaging out of recycled plastic, they buy that plastic. The caveat with that is they can't hold on to this stuff forever, and we don't have that many buyers for multiple reasons. It's cheaper to have new virgin plastic than it is to use recycled plastic. So that's a very big problem for plastic. Like we said, the glass, we have too much of it, so they're using it as landfill cover. So plastic is one of the worst recyclable materials that we need to find a better solution for. So currently we take number 1 through 7, they get baled, but if it sits there for more than a year, it goes to the trash. So it gets incinerated. So all that recycling needs somewhere to go. Otherwise it ends up in Covanta with the rest of our trash. All right, so the history of recycling. The single stream started in the 90s where we put everything in one can. Back before then, some of you might remember, you put your paper out one day, you put your metal out one day, you put your glass out a different day. Much, much easier for the whole industry, not for people at home. So in the 90s, we started going all in one can. Now we have these MRFs that separate everything. It's definitely easier for residents, but the whole recycling industry is very problematic. In 2017, we had a plastic crisis. We used to send our plastic to other countries to deal with it, to sort it, to melt it back down, to turn it into little pellets to sell. We don't have the infrastructure, the capacity to do that here, but all the recycling wasn't allowed to go out anymore. So a lot of the recycling in the first couple years after that went to trash again. Hopefully we're transitioning into a period where we have the better infrastructure, but it takes decades for that kind of stuff to build up. So because of that, it actually costs more for recycling than trash, although it's mandatory for a township of our size. And we produce more trash than we do recycling. but the cost is high, and it keeps going up. And one of the other problems is contamination. If the recycling is contaminated too much with things that don't belong, or food, or XYZ, there's increased fees for that kind of contamination. They have come down a little bit, but we do want to make people aware that the more things you put in recycle, we have a term called wish cycling. You put things in there that don't belong, it actually ruins everything. That whole bin, that pallet, they'll throw the whole thing out if it's more than like 10% contamination. So that's why they have workers picking it out. Couple facts about plastic. You can only reuse plastic 2 to 3 times. After that, it doesn't melt the right way anymore. Roughly an entire dump truck of plastic is polluting our oceans every minute. It takes about 450 years for a plastic bottle and 200 years for a plastic bag to break down into microplastic particles that now contaminate our water and land. So all the recycling that's out in the ocean and in our environment is quite a lot. We use about 10 billion water bottles a year and 10 billion plastic bags every year, just in America. So there's definitely a recycling crisis, or a plastic crisis, and we're not going to recycle our way out of it. Containers, like I said, your recycling needs to be in a container, loose, no bags. Those containers you can get at Public Works at the Township Building for $35. Or if you just moved in the township, you get a free one within 6 months. You just got to call them and let them know. If you don't want to pay for another bin, you don't have to. If you have an old trash can, you can throw a sticker on it, like this one on the slide. They're free. You can grab as many as you want from Public Works at the township. We usually have some at the environmental table at Haverford Day and Earth Day. If you have, you need a lid on your recycling can, especially nights like this when it's raining. So if you don't have a lid, ask Public Works. We're actually ordering some more lids. So they're not there yet, but they should be there soon. So they'll have some extras. If you have too much recycling, you have a big party on the weekend, you don't know what to do with it, you're out of containers, there's actually a bin you can bring it to. It's on Hilltop Road, right behind Barnaby's. They have one for paper, metal, and plastic. And all right, let's get on to the rules now. The real rules, like I said, clean, no food, dry, not wet, loose in a can with a lid. No bags, no boxes. A lot of times I see people, they'll put like a cardboard box or a brown paper bag with a bunch of recycling in it. But the thing is, our Public Works men, they don't know what's in there. They don't know if there's trash on the bottom. So they're just, if there's a box or a bin with recycling and it's not clearly marked can, they're going to put it in with the trash. No flexible bags, straws, styrofoam. These things are not accepted at all in our recycling. Break down your boxes. A lot of boxes have styrofoam, air pillows inside, all these other, things to package it. Those all need to come out. It needs to be just the cardboard box by itself. You need to break it down. You can tie it together with some twine, but it'd be better if you don't. So no combinations of paper or plastic metal. Like we said, eventually this needs to go to a MRF center. They need to be separated. So things that are stuck together, what I mean is, like, you buy a package and it's got this little plastic window here and it's got the cardboard on the back. You have to rip this plastic window off and just recycle the cardboard on the back. This kind of plastic is not recyclable. That would go in the trash. Another example would be like a metal can, like a coffee can that's cardboard, but then it's got metal on the bottom. What we do is we take the metal off and recycle them in a scrapyard. That's why this one's all torn up, but this couldn't be recycled as is by itself. And this is the one that drives me crazy, is these mailers that you get with the coupons. A lot of people just take this whole thing and chuck it in the recycling bin, but you got paper that's inside of plastic. So you need to throw the plastic out and recycle just the paper. Nothing smaller than the size of a credit card or bigger than the biggest laundry container you can find. Things that are too small fly off the truck. They get stuck in those gears. They're problematic. And then nothing bigger than a laundry, laundry container. Some people think, oh, I'm going to throw out my can, it's plastic, or my pool my kids are done with. Like, those things are just too big. The industry can't handle them. Again, break down your boxes, all this stuff inside. If your box is out in the curb and it's shut, we don't know what's in it. It could have this, it could have recycling, could have just other cardboard boxes, but got to be broken down, take all the packaging out. So what is accepted? Cardboard and paper, any color, just nothing with wax, metal, foil, glitter, singing card with batteries in it, that kind of stuff, just plain old paper. Paper is the most profitable item in your recycling bin if it's not wet. Grease and food can really contaminate the paper during the pulping process. So food is a contamination. So if you have a paper like tray and it's got food in it, just trash it. Cardboard and paper are both nearly 100% recyclable, and it takes 70% less water to recycle than manufacturing brand new paper or cardboard. For every 1 ton of recycled boxes, we save 11 trees. These are out of order. Fun. So plastic, which is the worst one. Bottles, tubs, trays, containers. I'm going to show you just when we say bottles and containers, milk containers, things like that. There's 2 kinds of plastic. One is thermoplastic, and it can be heated and reformed. And then there's thermoset. It's one form, and you can't redo it. So that would be like the handles on your pots and things like that, those kind of things. So make sure you know what goes in. Number 1 through 7, we take them all. Glass, any color glass, the only thing is no lids. So when we talked about mixed materials, this is a glass jar, but it's a metal lid. And that metal has like a little liner of plastic inside too. So the glass gets recycled, this gets discarded. Glass is also infinitely recyclable.
Unless it's in your blue bin currently. If it's in your blue bin, it's just going to be repurposed as landfill cover, which is why it's the glass bin that's located up at the creek is a good alternative. One, so that it gets reused, but 2, it also saves the township money because we're not paying for that glass bin that's being provided. Whereas if it goes in your blue bin, that's going to be getting charged at the rate higher than our trash.
And then lastly, we have metal. Metal is infinitely recyclable. Recycling aluminum is 95% less energy than mining for new. Steel plants recover 90% of the water when they reuse them. Recycling 1 steel can is enough energy to light a 10-watt LED light bulb for more than a day. So when we're talking about metal, essentially just these are the only 2 things. I know my like background's messing with me. Aluminum drink cans and steel cans. That's pretty much all the metal that you can recycle. I'm gonna go through some other slides of what's not recyclable. There's a lot of metal that people think is recyclable that's not. This is that glass bin we were talking about. It used to be at the township building. Now it's at the crack. It's in the parking lot above where the dog park is on the gravel. And that's there permanently. You can access it 24/7. If the lids are closed, you can just slide them open, put your stuff in. Definitely a great option, and I'm glad we have it permanently and it's not only here for a week or 2 anymore. All right, so what's not accepted? So styrofoam, any styrofoam, food containers, cups, packaging, popcorn, any of it. Glass, light bulbs, dishes, windows. We're talking just typical glass containers, basically anything you find in a grocery store. Coated paper, to-go cups and ice cream containers, frozen food boxes. These things are waterproof, and the way that they're waterproof is they're covered in plastic. So there's a plastic liner that keeps everything from leaking. Plastic bags, grocery bags, saran wrap, bubble wrap, Ziplocs, all this stuff, they're not recyclable. Curbside, in your can. And metal, screws, nails, those jar lids, bottle caps, tools, even just the lid by itself. If you have a can and the whole lid comes off, this lid is too small and too dangerous. This would get discarded and you would just recycle this one can. So what your can should look like is the one on the right. The one on the left, you got food, you got the coffee cup, you got plastic, flexible plastic. It should be nice and clean, dry, easy to see everything in there. Here's a good example of my neighbor of what not to do. There's a lot of things. The bagging, the pizza box, didn't mention that. Pizza boxes are not accepted, that grease. Some people, like really avid recyclers like us, we might rip the top off if it's clean, but if you ask the township, they're gonna tell you no, because there's too many people that break the rules and don't really know what they're doing. So don't do what my neighbor did.
Mhm.
All right. Not everything with a symbol is recyclable. I used to have a slide on the symbols, but like really too much information, not complicated. It's not really regulated. Anybody can slap a sticker on and say it's recyclable. One of the things that drives me crazy is that toothpaste that says recyclable on it. You know, it's not, because it's the flexible plastic. But you have to know. You have to know what goes in and what doesn't, unfortunately. But they are becoming a little bit better. They're being a little bit more descriptive. And I really like the things that say this is made with recycled paper. I purposely buy Who Gives a Crap toilet paper because it's recycled or bamboo. You know, that you can look at your products and what you're buying and think about, in the end, where's this package going to go? There's an interesting one here. I'll get in there. That plastic label, you could see on the upper left, it says plastic bottle, plastic label. That's talking about something like this, like a plastic bottle with this label on it. This label actually has to come off, which is kind of unfortunate, but. So when in doubt, throw it out. If you're holding something in your hand and you're going, is this recyclable? Is this not recyclable? I don't know. It's always better to throw it in the trash. If you put it in the recycling, you're going to contaminate a whole bunch of other recycling. All right, so where do you go to get this information? So our township has a brand new website a year or two ago. If you go on the main page, you'll see that brush trash recycling icon. You can click on there, and that gives you basic information, the schedules, how to get a recycling can, what days they pick up and what wards, that kind of stuff. Not detailed recycling information. For that, you need to go up at the top where it says Environmental 365, and that has a whole bunch. It's a whole new site. It's like part 2 of the website, has all the different environmental information. So on there, you'll see that clip there that has the guidelines, tells you what to put in, that kind of stuff. There's a frequently asked question and answer document that the EAC drafted a bunch of years ago. It was on the old township page and it didn't get transferred onto the new one, but you can search for it. You can't find it if you look around, but if you go to that little search bar at the top, type in recycling FAQ, and it is in the document center somewhere. The problem with the township website is it takes a lot of time to fix things and correct things. So they wanted to have everything on there pretty easy and doesn't need to be modified too much. But you know, us environmental people, we needed more control, and we update our things almost monthly, if not more. So we decided to create our own website that we can control. So this is the one that you want to look at, haverfordclimateaction.org. It is not only recycling, it's everything you need. You can see on the left, transportation, energy, solar panels, food choices, plant-based diets, yard and garden, all kinds of stuff. So on there, if you go into waste, you'll see recycling. You'll see some more recycling, probably more than you ever thought was possible. 43% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions come from choices made by everyday Americans like us. You have the power to choose where your waste is going, what you're buying, where you're getting your energy from, what you're driving, all these things. There's lots of ways that you can reduce your carbon footprint. If you have any questions, we're always here to help. That frequently asked question document is on the Haverford Climate Action website page. and that we do update. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples from there, just because it's about 10 pages long. It's very, very detailed. Can you recycle a toothbrush? Can you recycle plastic gloves? So some of the big ones, plastic bottle caps and metal jar lids, are they accepted? The answer is no, they're too small. They're accepted on the bottles if you have a plastic jug with a plastic lid. They're both plastic, screw it on, keep it on, that's fine. But if it's not on it, then it needs to be in the trash or otherwise. The metal lids don't go with in the recycling bin at all. Tin foil and aluminum, that's one of the big things a lot of people don't understand. Those trays, aluminum foil, all that stuff's not accepted. Shredded paper, it is accepted, but it's too small by itself. So you have to put it in a brown paper bag, and that's okay because it's paper and paper. Aerosol cans is a no, mostly due to explosions, things not being completely empty. It was a hazard for the workers. So while technically the metal can is recyclable, it's too hazardous for the recycling company, so they don't take it. That's why we recommend putting it in your trash, because in that incinerator, they do metal recovery. So at the end, after they incinerate everything, any metal that's left behind gets recycled. Milk and soup cartons are a yes. Our recycling company has a specific buyer for them because they are coated paper, which is a no, but just the cartons themselves, we have a specific buyer for. So we do take them and they get sorted out. The junk mail with the little windows is okay. They get that out. Staples, tape, labels, everything from boxes, technically they don't need to be removed, but it's always better to. I usually do. If you're breaking them down, you're probably pulling that tape off anyway. Definitely labels. You don't want your address out there anywhere. That should definitely come off. Greasy pizza boxes, that's a no. Clamshells, yes. Receipts, wrapping paper, those are a no. And prescription pill bottles and caps are a yes, they're plastic. Spray nozzles, soap pumps, and detergents with the spouts on it is a no, because a lot of that stuff does have metal in the plastic. They have these like little metal springs and things like that. So they are contaminated and they can't go in the recycling. So now that I told you all the things that you can do, I'm going to confuse you with some exceptions. The cardboard boxes, they do have to be broken down, but like I said, you can leave the tape and the staples on. Paper junk mail, they can go in with the little windows in it, that's fine. And the shredded goes in paper. Paper labels can be left on aluminum cans and glass jars because they end up being heated at such high temperatures that the paper gets incinerated off. Plastic lids can be left on plastic bottles, but they cannot be placed in the bin by themselves. They're too small. Plastic labels do need to be removed from plastic bottles. There are some newer products on the market. The Amazon came out with these paper bags that have the little puffy white spots in it. That's actually water soluble glue, and it is accepted in the recycling bin, just like the rest of your paper. There's plant-based packing peanuts. So like the little styrofoam peanuts, but they're not made of styrofoam. They're made from plant-based. They're not recyclable because they're plant-based, but they are dissolvable. So a lot of times you run the water and you put them under the water and it just dissolves and goes right down your drain. And then there's compostable, biodegradable, plant-based produce trays and plastic bags. You'll see a lot of these in the grocery store when you buy your produce. I know Mom's Organic Market has the plant-based plastic bags. And again, because they're not plastic, they can't be recycled with plastic. They would just be either composted if you have a company that composts, or in the trash. So how many R's? We used to say recycle, reduce, reuse, but we're going to teach you a lot more R's. That's old. So we got rethink, refuse, reduce, repurpose, reuse, recycle, rot. 7 R's. So we got a lot more R's here. Like I said, we want to talk about not recycling. Recycling is not going to save us. We want you to kind of rethink your whole lifestyle. our goal as environmental advisory committee people is being sustainable. Sustainable is the avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance and meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability for future generations to meet their own needs. There's actually a thing called Overshoot Day. It's when we use an entire year's worth of resources, and we usually hit that about the end of July. So we're using more than we can replenish for the next generations. And it's because we've gotten into this disposable lifestyle. Everything's disposable and fast fashion, and just buy a multi-pack, and there's a lot of choices that everyday people can make. The government's not going to make it. You need to have control of your life and make your own choices. We need to rethink everything about what we're doing in our life. When we throw something away, it goes somewhere. A lot of the landfills are at capacity. We're burning waste because nobody wants another landfill. And when we burn waste, that air, it's not staying there. It's spreading all over Delaware County. So we really need to have a better solution. And honestly, the best solution is a zero waste lifestyle. And it sounds very intimidating, but you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to do it alone. We're going to help you. So let's talk, before we get to recycling, there was refuse, reduce, reuse, all these other options, and you really should go in that order. Recycling should be at the end. So just a couple examples of things that you can refuse: unwanted items, sugar packets, creamers, condiments, napkins. When you go to takeout, I got in a habit before straws were banned of saying no straws. I don't need a straw. Single-use plastic like straws and utensils and bags and coffee stirrers and water bottles. There's no reason why we have anything that we just use once and throw away. You can reduce your packaging by bringing your own bags. I bring my own for the produce. I bring my own for the whole grocery store. You can buy instead of buying like the multi single packs, you can just buy a big one. Like I buy big bags of chips and I put them in little containers for my kids to take to school. I don't buy individual little bags. Repurposing. We have some ideas here. We'll get into them just a little bit more. I just wanted to give you a little taste of what the second half's going to be like. But repurposing these metal lids from this glass container. There's a place called Philadelphia Magic Gardens that turns these into art projects. So there's options out there. You just got to find them. Providence Animal Shelter takes toilet paper and paper towel rolls to make enrichment things for the dogs. Teacher Teammates is a great organization that helps teachers in all of Delaware County. And they love clean Ziploc bags for all their sorting and things that they need. You can make a million things out of wood pallets. Like there's definitely options. Donating or reusing items instead of throwing clothes away, donate them. Glass vases, there's a store, Little Flower Design takes them. Dry cleaners will take metal hangers. There's a lot of options for things that aren't accepted in your recycling. So we're going to ban the 3 R's. We're going to go back to the 7. So we talked about refuse, reduce, repurpose, reuse, and then finally at recycle. But we're not done there. There's one more left, and that's rot. So we're talking about recycling your food. Food can be reused and recycled too. This is just an example of what I do when I'm at home chopping my vegetables. I throw little bits and pieces that I would have normally thrown in the trash. I put them in a little container, and I keep it in my freezer. And when that container is filled up, I'll make some veggie stock, and then I'll compost what I don't use in the broth. If that's not for you, you can get a composting company to come and take all your food waste. So the township has a grant that makes 4 months of free curbside composting available to all Haverford residents. These are for new members that don't use them. There's a couple different companies. If you just give them your address, it triggers that 4 months free. They know where you're from. We have another workshop like this for composting on October 8th. You can learn how to do it yourself. You can learn about the companies. And if you take their class, you can get a discounted $30 composting bin to be able to do it yourself in your backyard. All right. I'm going to pass it over to Jess now, and she's going to talk about how to recycle even more than what I've already told you.
Okay. So like Melissa said, we have a ton of waste and we have to figure out what to do with it. Our curbside recycling is really basic. As she mentioned, your cans, your glasses, all that stuff. It's really your basic materials, not all the everyday plastics that are coming into the home. So we've found a ton of alternative programs. We've found ways to recycle electronics, light bulbs, medications, those pesky plastic bags we talked about, scrap metals, and various stores that host a lot of these free recycling programs, as well as a program called TerraCycle that we'll get into. And of course, as Melissa mentioned, reusing and donating. So first up, what's really big is recycling electronics. When we first started doing these trainings, this was prior to Township hosting e-waste bins. So we used to refer everybody to places like Staples and Best Buy. These stores all host electronics recycling and take a lot of items for free. They're very extensive lists, so we always refer you to the store's websites, just because they also change periodically. But they all mostly take various electronics for free. But now the township has these bins. There's 2 located at the township building, that lower level lot between the township building and Wawa. And there's also a 3rd bin in the parking lot at the CREC. And these bins are accessible 24/7, and these are for small household electronics. So things like, a toaster, a blender, and I think it says, honestly, Melissa, I think it says like anything with a plug. But the opening, they describe it as nothing bigger than a bread box, which I always find is interesting because I have no idea. I've never seen a bread box. I don't know what that size is, but essentially small printers can fit through this opening. And I've also been able to fit a vacuum in the opening. So I actually think the opening's pretty generous, but they're accessible 24/7. So those types of items don't need to go in trash, and they shouldn't go in trash. So if you have, any small appliances or devices with a cord, they should go there. The township also offers twice a year e-waste recycling events for larger items that cannot go in these bins. They include, TVs, microwaves, refrigerators, air conditioners. And the great thing about those events is that they are free to township residents. You have to register for them. And they take TVs for free, which is huge. A lot of other places who offer these e-waste events typically charge for TV recycling, but the township covers the cost, which is really great.
Although they are full for this next upcoming one.
Are we already full?
Yeah, it filled up almost like a day after it's out.
Well, if you happen to know it, if you need something to get rid of and happen to know a neighbor signed up, maybe just try to pawn your stuff off onto the neighbor and let them take it. Okay. So next up is LED bulb recycling. There is a collection bin at the township building. Their bins are to the right of the doors in the upper level, where you can drop off LED bulbs only, though. But that is free of charge. You drop them off in the bin there. Cannot remember if there's any guidelines that, Melissa. They just go in loose, or are they supposed to be bagged?
They can go in loose, just the bulbs, not the tubes.
Right. Also at the township building, this time at the lower level in the police department's lobby, is a medication bin as well as a sharps disposal bin. And medication bin is fantastic. Any old expired medications should not go in the trash, should not go down the toilet. That they can come here. They just ask that it not be loose. Does not need to be in the prescription bottle or the bottle from you have Tylenol from CVS, as long as it's in like a Ziploc bag or something. They just don't want loose medication in the bin. But like I said, that's prescription and over-the-counter medications and ointments. We do just suggest that if you're going to drop off your prescription bottles, peel the label off with your personal information. For the sharps bin that's right next to it, the sharps do need to be in a hard plastic container or of some sort, so that obviously the people collecting it aren't getting poked. Those bins are also available 24/7 because they're in the lobby to the police station, and those front doors are always accessible. Another program located at the township building. It's right next to the LED bulb collection bin, is a cute little tube that's on the window right behind it for these bread tags or produce bag tags. Melissa also hosts a collection for that as well. And these tags get sent out to Danielle Cares for Chairs, and they're recycled, and it raises funds for wheelchairs. Since the plastic-free ordinance in the township went into effect, obviously, again, the ban is on single-use plastic bags. Most stores are charging if you're using paper bags, so we encourage you to use reusable bags. If you don't have any, you need some, there's a volunteer that hosts a bag share. You can take a bag, or if you have excess bags that you want to get rid of, you can drop them off here. And from time to time, the volunteer, if there's too many there, they'll then donate them to local food pantries who are always looking for bags for food pickup days. And just something to note too, I think I forgot to mention this before. All of this information is going to be available in a PDF. If you have a pen and paper and you want to note down some like addresses that are listed, that's great. But if you don't have that, don't worry about it. All this information can be accessed at a later time.
And at the website, Haverford Climate Action.
So the plastic bags and film Melissa mentioned that cannot go into MRF. So that plastic sleeve that, your circulars come in, your produce bags, your grocery bags, those blue and white Amazon delivery envelopes, cereal bag liners, all the plastic wrap that goes around toilet paper and paper towels and diapers and, feminine care products, and the list goes on and on. None of that can go in your blue bin. However, most retailers have bins that do accept that. So Giant, Lowe's, Kohl's, Acme, the list goes on and on. The stores, those are just some of the, local stores here in town that you can take these to. And that also includes bubble wrap and those air pillows that come in shipping boxes. If you deflate them, all of this plastic film can be recycled through those programs. Metal. So as Melissa said, very limited what kind of metal can go in the curbside bin. It's really just your steel food cans and your aluminum beverage cans, your cans that your cat food and dog food might come in. The rest cannot go in your blue bin. It's all recyclable, just not curbside. So there's options. There is a scrap metal facility, Accurate Recycling, located in Lansdowne, where if you have a large volume of metal that you want to recycle, you can take it there yourself, get a little cash back for it. But if not, there's a local volunteer in town who hosts a site. She'll take your scrap metal, and she periodically will deliver it to the scrap metal facility. There are 5-gallon buckets set up in the driveway, and they're labeled for aluminum, steel, other. One of the hints we give people to kind of help figure out how to sort your metal: steel is magnetic. So just check it with the magnet. That'll tell you if it's steel or not. It also takes some larger items like, pots and pans. But the big thing is that you remove as much plastic as possible. So if it's got plastic pieces on the metal, try to remove it. Any fabric on it, try to remove it before you drop off the metal to the volunteer. So basic things that would be accepted there, like Melissa said, those metal jar lids that are on pretty much everything, your jelly, your baby food jars, your honey jars, all of it. But also metal bottle caps that come off of beer or soda bottles, foil, as long as it's clean. You can include that as well. The Mott's applesauce lids that are foil can go there. Those aluminum foil pans that Melissa mentioned, that you see for like catering, as long as those are cleaned, those can go this scrap metal collection. Pipes, screws, nuts, bolts, and then string lights, like your Christmas lights. If they burn out, you're not using them anymore, they can go there. And I mean, really, honestly, anything, just as long as it's nothing too large, nothing the volunteer can't handle moving on their own. As we mentioned, Staples takes electronics recycling. One of the great things they take that there's not many options for is batteries, and they recycle those for free. You do not have to pay Staples to do that, and you actually earn rewards when recycling there. So it's kind of nice. You get money back for it. They do printer cartridges, lots of tech equipment, computers, CD players, DVD players, phones, calculators, all that good stuff. But they also recycle writing instruments. So pens, dried out markers and highlighters, pencils.
Wow.
Trying to remember, do they do glue sticks? I don't remember if they do glue sticks or not. I don't think that one is there. But they've expanded to that. They've added to the list lunch bags. So if the kid's lunch bag is really beat up by the end of the school year, you can put your lunch bag in there as well. So that's a nice alternative. That's, local and, not far to get to. And then there's Mom's Organic Market. They host a recycling center in their store. They recycle glasses, phones, tablets. I was checking their website today. I saw cork on their website today. So I think they might have added that back. But that if that is up to date, it is natural cork, not the like the rubber corks. There's also Lowe's and Home Depot. So for those bulbs that aren't the LED bulbs, so like your compact fluorescents, you can take those to Lowe's along with rechargeable batteries. And then there's Batteries Plus, which I think is in Springfield. They take batteries, lights, and electronics as well. That's more of a, I probably wouldn't go there too much because there you're going to have to pay for this stuff. If you need to recycle batteries, you can just go to Staples. And then there's the TerraCycle program. So TerraCycle program recycles, items that typically would just go in your trash stream. And we have a network of volunteers who teamed up to host collection sites because nobody wants to hold on to their own recycling forever until they have enough worth shipping. So it's been nice to have volunteers as collection points so we can send out shipments relatively frequently. So one of our most popular programs is the oral care program. And this program accepts toothbrushes, toothbrush packaging. So like Melissa showed that battery packaging early on, just like toothbrushes are the same way. They have that cardboard backing and then the plastic piece usually that goes over it. That's accepted in the oral care recycling program. Toothpaste tubes, as well as the boxes that most toothpaste tubes come in, because as Melissa mentioned, cardboard and paper that's metallic is not accepted in our curbside recycling. And most toothpaste tubes have that metallic, coloring, red or blue on the boxes. So those are accepted in this program. And floss containers. Just a note here, no use floss. Just a little, square floss containers accepted. No used floss, no floss picks, used or unused, accepted in this. And you can also do electronic toothbrush heads, not the handle. Another side note, mouthwash bottles are not accepted in this program. Those can just go curbside. And I'm going to move my computer because I just saw my husband pull up with the kids and they're going to come in screaming in a minute. So I'm going to walk through the house while I'm talking. That bin is located at the township building. Again, 1010 Darby Road. It's 1014 Darby Road because it's upstairs and it is right next to the LED bulb. So both of these bins are outside to the right of the doors of the township building. Sorry, bear with me a minute as I turn lights on up here.
I will give them a nice fact while we're waiting. We've been collecting the oral care items since we started the Recycling Beyond the Blue Bin program in 2022. And in the first couple years, we had maybe about 100 pounds each year. Last year, we collected 400 pounds of oral care. And the personal care, which we no longer have, we'll talk about a different option on the next slide. Last year, we collected 600 pounds of personal care products that we recycled.
It's awesome. All right, I think I'm set up now. Sorry, my kids were going to come in screaming. They just went to the movie, so it was going to be, Mommy! Okay, so beauty care program that Melissa just mentioned. That we no longer have a volunteer for. That if you're interested, if you have skincare, hair care, cosmetic packaging, you can take them to Sephora stores and Nordstrom stores. They have bins inside where you can go ahead and go recycle that kind of stuff there.
I will say the Sephora needs to be a standalone Sephora, not the Sephora in a Kohl's.
Yes, not that little one.
Yes. But they take a ton of stuff. Lipstick and mascara, all kinds of stuff.
All right, foil lined snack packaging. So things like chip bags, candy bar wrappers, granola bar wrappers. There's 2 volunteers that collect this program as well. You do not have to clean the packaging. However, it is asked that you just dump out whatever crumbs are in there, just so not to attract too many animals. This does not include coffee bags or pet food bags, pill pockets, anything that. It's strictly just snack food packaging. Not the kids. The husband came in this time. Just got done saying the kids are going to come in. All right. Next up is the Honest Juice Pouches packaging program. There's a volunteer collects them. It's those little foil packs. It includes the straws as well, so you don't have to take the straws out. And again, you don't have to wash them. You just have to make sure it's empty. So just a little excess juice in the bottle, just go ahead and squeeze it out, or in the package, squeeze it out. Sorry.
I just wanted to also note a lot of these programs are name brand specific. So the ones we mentioned so far, the oral care, the personal care, and the juice pouches are any brand. So like you can have a different, it doesn't have to be Honest Juice Pouches. It can be any juice, it could be a Capri Sun or whatever. But some of the other programs are very specific in what brands they take and what brands they don't.
All right, next up, Go-Go Squeeze. As Melissa said, any brand for this one of the squeeze pouches. And it's not just applesauce. They have yogurt ones. I've also seen ones in the dessert section, in the freezer section, where it's like, essentially like milkshake squeeze pouches. Those are all accepted, along with the little plastic caps on top. You can put them right back on. Let's see, next up. Brita filters. This program is pretty extensive as well. It's this one is brand specific, but it's more than just the filters. It's the pitchers, it's the dispensers, the bottles, the faucet systems, and the outer packaging that they come in. So that's a really good one if you use Brita. And then cleaning and laundry care. This includes the spray nozzles from the cleaning products. So if you've got a bottle of the spray stuff for Tide, Gain, Downy, and Dreft, it's those flexible packaging if you use the pods like shown in the picture. It is the dispensing cup. So if you have that bigger tub that has the nozzle on it, like of the detergent that Melissa mentioned that, can't go curbside because it's got the mixed materials because of the metal springs. Those nozzles, the dispensing cups, they can go in this program. Again, along with the flexible plastic bags. And also Tide to Go pens is accepted in this program. Then there's the Febreze Air Care. So all brands of air freshener cartridges, plugs, trigger heads, and plastic and film packaging. Same thing as the other one, no plastic bottles. That plastic bottle you see with the spray nozzle in that picture, that plastic bottle should just go in your curbside bin, and the nozzle would go in this program. And then razors. This is a program that just came back. We lost this one for a while because we didn't have a volunteer, but it's for all brands of blades and razors, disposable, and the rigid and flexible plastic packaging that they sometimes come in. If you're going to drop this one off, this one's very specific. They have a bio box. Please make sure you put this stuff into that box and don't just leave it out for obvious reasons. We don't want any kids trying to play with this. And then there's various other TerraCycle programs. There's a Dunkin' Donuts coffee bags program. There's one for phone covers and pop sockets. There's a Baby Bell packaging program, Royal Canin pet food packaging, Quinn packaging, which I think is a snack food packaging. And then contact lens packaging and contact lenses. Those were able to be recycled or dropped off at a couple different eye doctors' offices to be sent out to TerraCycle. And then any brand of pet food and treat bags you can take directly to Pet Supplies Plus. There's 2 locations, one in Woodland and one in Westchester. So styrofoam. If you're super dedicated and you want to drive out to Northeast Foam Recycling in Chalfont, you can take your styrofoam there. Has to be clean and dry, no food residue. It's a hard white type, crunchy type, the kind that if you snap it, it snows, all those little white things that then stick to you. It's not like your styrofoam cups or trays or that flexible styrofoam that bends. There is a volunteer, if you check through the recycling group or mainline shift group, there's a volunteer that will take your styrofoam and deliver it out there periodically. But some guidelines with that. So if that's something you're going to do, you need to connect with the volunteer and communicate with her before taking stuff over that'll be dropped off. Then there is Rabbit Recycling. Rabbit Recycling is a paid service that will come pick up at your home. You get a bin. There's a couple different sizes to choose from, and they have an incredibly extensive list of materials they take. They take items, to be donated, repurposed, recycled, deconstructed if needed. You can actually go browse their shop to get materials. I know there's a lot of artists that utilize their shop to get materials, but you pay for this service. You can either do on demand or a monthly service. I refer you to their website though, because their list is very extensive for what they accept. One thing to note about that before I move on, TerraCycle is pretty relaxed. Like with the food, the snack packaging stuff, you don't need to clean it. It just needs to be empty. With Rabbit Recycling, they are much more strict that when it comes to food packaging, it has to be clean. And then reuse options. There's a lovely little company right on the outskirts of town. It's called Spencer's Plate Dog Food. It is perishable dog food that you can have delivered to you. They reuse styrofoam coolers, ice packs, and insulated bags. So if you have any food delivery services, like if you do Hungry Root or one of those, or if you get medication that has to be shipped out to you and kept cold, all those coolers and ice packs will be reused by this company. Just go and drop it off and make sure it's in good condition. If it's dirty, please don't drop it off to them, but as long as it's clean and usable, they will be happy to reuse it. There is Rags to Riches and Providence Animal Shelter, who will reuse towels and blankets. As Melissa mentioned, the toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, and boxes for enrichment for the dogs. There is candle recycling at Niter Hall. So if you have partially burnt candles or candles you haven't used, you can take them there to be melted down into new candles. Vases, everybody has a collection of flower vases probably under the sink or in a closet somewhere. But there is a florist on Darby Road, Little Flower, who will take your vases to reuse them. And then, as Melissa mentioned, the metal clothes hangers can be taken to the dry cleaner to be reused. And Teachers Teammates, which they have a bin in the entryway to the YMCA. And I believe there's one or two other locations in town that has bins. And they another one to check their list, very extensive list of items they take. And it's an incredible organization because it helps make sure it gets supplies to teachers and schools who really need it. Then donate items, we already kind of mentioned. Teachers Teammates. There is Grand Stepping Up, which helps support grandparents who are taking care of grandchildren and other children. So they're a great organization to send clothes to that you can donate. Fostering Hope Delco, Community Warehouse Project, Cradles to Crayons, Animal Shelters, Help See, Goodwill. I mean, the list just keep going on and on. There's so many places to send stuff if you have something that's still usable that you don't need. Help See bin, as I just mentioned. This one's a great one. The closest, I believe, to us is in Broomall in the Produce Junction parking lot. They have 3 bins there, and this is textile reuse and recycling, which is the big key. Like there's plenty of bins to donate clothes in, but this also takes your recyclable clothes. So your textiles that are torn and have holes or maybe a stain, but as long as they're clean, all the items need to go in clean, not dirty, can go into these bins and be either, reused, resold, or recycled. There's 2 other locations I see there, one in Narberth, one in Glen Olden. So depending on where you're located, one of those might be closer to you. And the unicorn of all unicorns of what they accept in these bins is stuffed animals. It's the only place I've found that takes stuffed animals, which is great because I hate the stuffed animals. And then there's the limited time collections. So Mom's Organic that we mentioned, they do Christmas light recycling December and January. If you don't go there, feel free to just take those to the scrap metal volunteer we mentioned in town. Moms also twice a year does denim recycling. Target stores used to be twice a year. Now it seems like it's down to once a year. Does car seat recycling and trade-in events, which is great because you can get a coupon to use in the store. The county is now doing lawn sign recycling twice a year, once around primary election season and general election season. We do have a volunteer in town that collects seasonally for that program. This past couple of years now, I forget how many it's been now, been hosting a pumpkin collection after Halloween and I guess usually closer to Thanksgiving. There's been a collection box over at Orner's. So if you have pumpkins that you use for decorating, as long as they are not already carved or, decorated with like glitter or paint, you can drop them off there and they get sent out to the pig farm and the pigs are happy to have our pumpkins. It's nice too because it's a free program, so it's not costing the township anything.
And we send them 6 tons.
Yes, we sent a lot. Yeah. Twice a year, the township offers a paper shredding event, which is great. You can securely dispose of any, personal documents, and it also gets recycled. That is free for residents, and you don't have to register. You just have to have your stuff. You pull up the day of, and it gets dumped into the trucks. So that's a nice event. And then, as we mentioned already, the e-waste event that is twice a year. The second one for this year is coming up, but as Melissa mentioned, registration is already full for that one.
And before we move on, I just want to give a little shout out to Shift. We
I
haven't really explained what Shift is. Shift is a store. It's in Narber, right? Narber?
Yes.
And they are a refillery store. So they sell things like shampoo and conditioner and laundry detergent and soaps. And you bring in your own containers. They'll weigh them. They'll fill them for you. If you don't have a container, they have recycled glass there. They have containers you can purchase. And like we said, recycling is not going to fix this. This is just one way to lessen what's going in your recycling bin and your trash bin.
And the owners there are incredible. They, especially if you go into this new, it can be very overwhelming when you first walk in there. They're so patient. They're very knowledgeable. They're happy to answer any questions. I started off really simple when I first went in there. I think initially I just tried laundry detergent. And now I get so much stuff from there. I get all my laundry products. I get, my dish soap, the scrubber brushes that I use from there. I get my shampoo bars, conditioner bars.
The wooden scrubber
yes,
brush.
my wooden scrub brush that it gets composted after I'm done. The dishwasher detergent. I know there's so much more. I'm blanking off the top of my head.
If you want to check out the Who Gives a Crap toilet paper, they have that there. You can buy just one roll and try it. If you do subscribe for that, they come in a case of 48.
Yeah, and Shift. I'm trying to think of the other things I've started using. They have deodorant there, personal care stuff, toothpaste tablets,
sunscreen.
Yes, so much stuff, and it's all been great. And we sampled it little at a time. Sunscreen was probably the one I was the most hesitant about because, if sunscreen doesn't work, you're going to pay for that one. And I typically burn very easily. The sunscreen has been great for me, so I highly recommend it.
I would just say go online, check out their hours. They're closed on Mondays. They have very limited hours.
All right. Then that is the Delaware County Household Hazardous Waste events. Those are hosted 4 times throughout the year, various points throughout the county. But they accept a lot of things that, people aren't sure what to do with, oil-based paints, things like that. They have a list of what's accepted, what's not accepted. The next upcoming event looks like it's September 6th. So they got one coming up in Sharon Hill.
And you do need to register for these. They are on Eventbrite. All right. So that is all the programs. I just wanted to give you guys a little taste of what it looks like in my house. So we mentioned a whole bunch of programs. It's a little overwhelming. Don't feel like you have to do everything all at once. Start out with one program. Something that you use all the time. Don't go out buying stuff. I literally use broken cups and brown bags and whatever I can to throw stuff in until I'm ready to send them where they need to be. So you could see on the left there's my fridge. I just have a little bag hanging in a hook, and I have all my foil bags in there. And then under that, I have all my grocery bags and stuff. And when it just gets to be too much, then I'll consolidate them all and take them out. Next to my sink, I have little cups for all kinds of various things. My rabbit recycling for the straws and the utensils. I got my foil. I got all my can lids, and sometimes I got the juice pouches and the squeeze pouches and all kinds of stuff that I like to let things dry before I put them away, so they go there. I have just a bin in my closet with, oral care supplies and those spray triggers and glasses or whatever else. And then in my basement, I have a whole bunch of bags that I put a lot of stuff into. I got a bag for the toilet paper rolls, a bag for the paper towel rolls, a bag for the metal lids. So many bags, I don't even know what they all are. There's the glass there, the dog food ones. So you don't need a lot of room. Find a little corner somewhere, start a pile, you'll figure it out.
And the big thing is too, like she said, do what's convenient. You don't have to try to do a lot. I found that when I tried to do too much and literally find something for everything, it became overwhelming. So for me, for example, Melissa has a bag for paper towel rolls and toilet papers. I don't. I put those in my curbside bin just because I was trying to condense down, and I tried to focus for what was something I produced in my house the most of. So really just, you're going to want to look to see what is it that's going to work for your household to reduce your waste. And truthfully, like for me, the big things were, starting to do like refilleries because, I have so many fewer plastic bottles. I don't have shampoo or conditioner bottles anymore. I don't have, shower gel anymore because I'm using the bar soaps with my soap saver. So, when I can buy things in glass as opposed to plastic, I do that. And between that and, in our house, we started composting probably about actually close to 5 years ago at this point. We started using mother compost. We significantly reduced our waste in our house. I never even put out a full recycling can, and I certainly don't put out trash both days of the week. And oftentimes I can even skip because we just don't produce as much of it. And we really started focusing on just bringing home less and not needing as much, which I had to get rid of Amazon. That was probably my downfall for a while. So that's another tip. Maybe get rid of the Amazon app off your phone.
All right. So that's almost everything. We just wanted to leave you with some quotes. Small changes lead to big changes. There's no such thing as a way. We don't need a handful of people doing zero waste perfectly. We need everyone doing zero waste imperfectly. So before we leave, I'm going to give you a list of events. And I forgot to mention in the beginning, we're going to have a raffle today. Everyone that is here now, I wrote your names down. I got your names on a little piece of paper here. And I'm going to pick a name, and the winner will win a recycling can. Public Works will deliver it to your house. So I don't know whose name this is, but it's NL iPhone. Let's see.
I see a hand.
Do you want to unmute yourself and let me know your name?
It's Nikki Loop.
Okay, Nikki. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
And listen, I can't guarantee it, but a few years ago, my neighbor ran over the lid to my recycling can, and I needed a new one. And I called Public Works, and not only did they give me a new one for free, but they delivered it to my house. I can't guarantee they still do that, but I have no reason to believe they don't do that. So in the event you need a new lid, certainly just give Public Works a call, because it was hands down the most convenient thing. Like literally, I actually think it was the same day that I called, it showed up on my front lawn.
There's just one more slide. I have all these events. I'm going to show you. These are the Environmental Advisory Committee social media platforms. That Haverford Climate Action website, that is key. If you go there, the homepage, scroll down, you'll see all the events that are coming up. They'll have all the registration links. You don't have to search for them. The frequently asked question document, the PDF of all these programs, everything's on that website. So that's where you want to go to find any information. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube. We didn't mention the specific Facebook group we have. It's Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Haverford Township. It has over 1,000 members. All you have to do is go on there, ask somebody a question, and somebody will answer it. It could be Jess or I, but it could be anybody, because everybody on there has learned so much and can help you out. That PDF of all the recycling programs are on that group too. There's a whole file with them. If you are not on Facebook, or you don't want to worry about going to this website, a lot of these programs can close or change or be discontinued. Like Jess said, that we didn't have the Razor program for a couple of years, and we finally had a volunteer step up and say, I'll collect for it. So things change a lot. We update this every month, this PDF. And if you don't want to go on the website or anything, you can email Haverford EAC at haveswitch@gmail, and I send out monthly newsletters. And not only will I include the most recent PDF, I highlight any changes, new programs, new events, registration dates, things like that. So at this point, we are done, and we can open it up to questions. If you want to unmute yourself, you can ask a question, or you could type it in the chat. There's only a handful of people on here.
The only thing I'm gonna throw out real quick before I forget, the email Melissa monitors, the Facebook group she mentioned, I created. This is all volunteer based. This is not like official from the township. It's just volunteers. So one, I always ask, just have patience. Sometimes we might not be able to answer a question immediately because we work, have kids, but we always try to get back to you. And especially in the Facebook group, even if Melissa and I aren't available, there's always somebody in the group that's willing to share information.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Hello,
Yes, go ahead.
Jim Gladford.
Hi, Jim.
The little tabs that come on the soda cans
Mhm.
and stuff, there's my daughters fight over them because they get money for them when they're through the schools.
For the schools. Okay. So we do have 2 people collecting them, and they send them to Ronald McDonald's house.
Right.
But not like everything on the PDF is things that are ongoing all the time. But every once in a while, somebody will post on the Facebook groups, and they'll say, "Oh, my school's collecting these items. Send them to me." So on that group, definitely encourage people will drop them off. What
Right,
school
okay.
that collects them? I'm just curious.
Huh?
What school collects for them?
Great Valley.
Oh, okay.
It's like they fight to get here first to get them.
And then, do you know what they do with them? They just
turn
grab
them
them?
in for, like you just said, I think it's Ronald McDonald
Okay. Yeah.
or something.
Okay. So it's going in the same place. I mean, technically people could collect them and then send them to the scrapyard and get money for it.
I have to take it off a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but like we said, there is so many programs, we didn't mention them all. There's
No.
too many to mention.
And honestly, we gloss over them quickly because we used to try to be a little bit more thorough, and then these trainings were lasting forever, and people's eyes start glazing over because it's a lot of information and taking it once. But that's why we always say, like, it's all available. This is just to kind of give you a taste of what's there, to let you know that there's all these options available. And if you want to know more, you check out the Haverford Climate Action website, or the groups, and really start to take a deep dive into what you think would benefit you and your household.
Okay, that was it.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so
Good night.
much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. All right.
Hmm.